Hello and welcome to From the Mic Stand. I'm Mike Chisholm. Now, normally on the show I sit here and I interview artists and upcoming bands and musicians. Last week on the show we had the Suave Martyrs. Coming up next week we have Peter E. Greger. But this week a little bit different. We're interviewing the Spoken Bars poets, and Simon Ross is one of those poets, and I am as well. So I'm interviewing myself, or Simon will chat to me about it. This weekend we are doing a very special event. We're doing a Mind Poetry Pub Crawl, raising a lot of money for the mental health charity, hopefully. We're going to be down at the Treacle Tap from 6 p.m. Then we're going to be at the Snow Goose from 7:30. Swarm 2Next from 8:15, and we'll be here at MASH for 10 p.m. And we've got at least 10 poets coming along, and loads of poets will probably just join us en masse. So we've got Simon here, we've got Mark Rollins, who's a brilliant local poet. He's won quite a few of the different poetry slams over the years. We've got Becca Smith and Fee Loftus. She did her first ever poem at the last Spoken Bars event. We've got New Jamat, who did some poetry at Blue Dot Festival recently. We've got Leon the Pig Farmer, which is a brand new poet to me, so looking forward to seeing him perform. We've got Joy France, we've got Garen Southern, who regularly comes to our Spoken Bars events. And we've got the barman from the Treacle Tap, Tommy, and coming down. So it's going to be a brilliant event. And we'll probably have another 5 or 6 poets just show up and perform. So, it was brilliant last time. Simon, you went to the last event. Just want to tell us a bit like what it's about and what we do?
Yeah, sure. So the poetry pub crawl is, I would think it's like just like a gathering of people who are like want to perform poetry, but they also want to hear poetry, meet people doing poetry, but also take it to an audience that doesn't necessarily hear it very often. So you kind of, what I like about it sort of takes people in pubs a bit unawares that it's happening. And it's over quite quickly. You just come and go very fast and move on to the next place. So it's exciting. I like that.
We're almost like wandering minstrels or wandering choir
think
singers.
of it like that. It's like Canterbury Tales from
And it started a few years ago. It was just us three sitting around in a pub, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was me, you and Mark, and I think it was the Snows. Memory. And I think we were just discussing various things we could do. I think we thought about we could set up our own night or get just to have another venue, but I think we settled on the idea. I'm not sure how we got there, but just having like a sort of wandering crowd of poets, and we followed through on that.
The first one was at Barnby Festival, but I think when we were sitting around, it was after that event. Outside of Tesco, there was a massive container, and it contained a right inside the container. It was a diorama. And there was loads of musicians and poets performing to like as a response to Container, and it was designed by that band that burnt all the money in the 90s.
Yeah, I think it was half of the KLF. Jimmy Clotty was the artist behind that. Yeah.
And it went all around the country as well, and ended up in Dismaland as well. I think.
Yeah, it was anywhere that had a riot at any point in their history was deemed worthy of having this public art situated there for a week. Yeah, I mean it was really good because it brought loads of people together, and I met loads of people there that still.
Definitely, and I think it demonstrated like all the mishmash of artists kind of worked together to create a cool little event.
Oh, definitely, that's good.
And one really great thing I thought was like you had like loads of people who might not necessarily go to an art gallery. They were exposed to it, so you saw like little kids peering into it. You saw like random people watching us guys perform. You might not necessarily come and watch poetry nights. And the idea with Spoken Bars originally was to get people who might not be involved in poetry like interested in it, because you might have only heard it from history class, from English class.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think sometimes school can that's the first and last time people experience poetry. So it's great to be able to take it literally into the streets in that case, but or into venues where people maybe aren't expecting to hear it.
And how did you get into writing poetry?
I'm probably a teenager, sort of maybe 16 or so. I don't know. I think it's quite a teenage phase you go through, where you just start writing down stuff. Yeah. And I didn't really grow out with it particularly, and I just kind of got more into it. Sort of built up, just collected. Just writing down on bits of paper, just anything that was coming through my head. but it wasn't really something that I was like performing or really showing to anyone. It was just something
Right.
I did for my own well-being. I don't know.
And what made you get up on stage and actually do some of it?
I think it was seeing other people do it and thinking like, yeah, I can do this.
Mm.
You know, it's not as daunting or as technically difficult as
Yeah.
you might think. You basically speak. You know, I've not got to the stage where I've memorised the words yet,
Right.
which I don't think I will either.
Mm.
But you know, just having it's quite a simple performing medium. I think poetry. It doesn't. You know, you just need a voice and some words. And it's,
Yeah. You need. Well, I think a good poet, they have like something to say and they have their own voice, don't they?
Yeah. I think that the good ones that will come out is that like their individual kind of voice. Yeah, for definitely. Yeah.
And the lovely thing about it is there's so many different styles. So there might be someone who's very political, or there might be someone that's like irreverent and funny, or very serious, or like somber and like.
You know, I would totally agree with that. I think like virtually every poetry night I've been at, like the atmosphere shifts so quickly from like, you know, laughter to like, you know, political kind of agitation to like, you know, someone's maybe revealing something very personal that's happened to them, or they're communicating something that's kind of abstract even as well, you know. And I think that's the real beauty of it. Like,
So do you want to share one of your poems now?
yeah, sure, yeah. Actually, I'll use this as an intro to.
Okay.
Right, basically, I've launched a poetry press called Lumina Press, and this is the first publication on it. It's by me, but I've got like 4 other people working on other works, so I'm hoping to release at least 2, possibly another 3 by the end of the year.
Oh, great.
So the next one will be by a guy called Chris Godber from Congleton, who lives in London now. And then there'll be one by Nick Degg, who's well known around Maxfield, even though he lives in Stoke. He's a big poet, performs everywhere all the time. And then Claire Bassey, who lives out in North, but I think she's going to be number 4. But yeah, anyway, so this is the first one, and it's called Becoming Someone Else Again. So I'll read a part of it.
Yeah, sure.
Alright, so to be alive and in amongst the seething, breathing manifestation of everything, all senses heightened and turned to celestial pitch, subtle magnetisms and subliminal exchanges recorded in the nano fabric of reality. That vision that is also a memory that will soon be a prediction of what will be, maybe, could be. Sometimes in those old terraced rows it's still 1820, and there's a family with 9 children, all working at looms, all hours of the day, none can read and none can write, work is food and heat and a little light. So that's like the first sort of section of it, and it's kind of it's like a drawing together of various different voices and sources to try and make it into a kind of like an assembly of parts, if you like. Yeah.
So people want copies of the Lumina Press things. Where
it's on in my living room at the moment.
Right, okay.
It's not yet. It's probably by email, probably better.
Sure.
Or I think.
Or they come to our Spoken Bars.
Yeah, definitely will be. There's like 3 copies of this one left, and they're doing them in editions of 10. So
Right.
they're like managed to move 7 of them so far. So
Yeah.
I've got 3 left, and then there'll always be small editions to try and they're all for £1 as well to encourage people to buy them. And or they can donate to charity. It's up to them. You
Sure.
can give me the money and donate. And also, just the other if anyone's listening who wants to participate, the idea is that the poet, the writer, retains all the rights to their work. Like Lumina Press doesn't own anything, and any money that's made is split 50-50. So if you sell 10, you've got 5 basically. So you're not going to be able to give up your day job, but that's how it'll work.
Yeah. Very nice. So yeah, as I mentioned, we have our own Spoken Bars Poetry Night. It's at the Treacle Tip. It's every 3rd Tuesday, and yeah, it's from 8 PM. It's been a very nice. It's not like I call it a poetry open mic, not open workshop. But most of the time, it's like we just sit around and share a few beers and stories and share a few poems each.
Yeah, the poetry can be incidental sometimes,
Yeah,
but in a good way. I think it like breaks up the.
But then again, you go to some poetry nights and you get like 3 minutes, whereas last week I think I showed 8 poems or something.
Yeah, I think it offers lots of scope. You can do as much or as little as you want, and there's no pressure. It's not a competition.
Yeah.
So.
And yeah, we've had quite a few different poets come down from it.
Yeah.
Good. And I shared this one with a few people on Tuesday night, and I'm going to perform it at the Poetry Pub Crawl as well. And it's all about living with mental health. I myself am bipolar, and this is all about like the people that kind of help you get through the condition. And I wanted to write this piece just for like people, the musicians, the friends that kind of helped you through. And it's based around a Bob Marley lyric as well, song, Redemption song. It's the only real link to that, but everyone mentions Bob Marley because it says a Redemption song. So here we go. This is called Your Redemption Song. I bared all my mistakes and all my yesterdays, but you've heard this one 1,000 times before. Now this isn't a ballad for the broken-hearted, it's a redemption song. For when you collapsed on your bedroom floor, when you don't recognise the person in the mirror anymore, when you desperately try to hide the scars, this is your redemption song. For when you took your first steps, for when you crawled into the shower again, you made it out to the front door. This is your redemption song. For all those friends that lent a hand, for all those friends who tried to understand, for all those songs that got you through. This is for you. This is your redemption song. So I've been through the dark, and here's a light. I've been lost, so here's a map. I've fallen, so here's a hand. I've been missing, so I understand. This is your redemption song. So here's to new smiles and new friends, and forgetting our troubles for a while. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you find like writing about something like as personal as that is it a kind of like cathartic thing? Do you find it helps you adjust to things, or?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's also like no matter how personal it gets, it's still divorce. It's still a story, and it still has flow and rhythms, and there are bits that are like personal, but then after a while, after you've written it, it kind of like it's not about you anymore. It's more about like a whole bunch of situations. So it could be about friends that you've known who have gone through depression, or friends that have gone through like who have anxiety or whatever. Really. So I think when you first write it, it's quite personal, and then after a while, it becomes divorced from that. I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it becomes a bit more like universal. Yeah. I mean, I think like it appears to me anyway that there is always like a high proportion of like poetry, particularly seems to be often created by people who've gone through various types of maybe mental illness or mental sort of an unease they maybe feel that, and I think like it's like a long, almost like a tradition of that in poetry almost.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people find solace in artwork as well, if it's poetry, if it's stories or musicians. I think a lot of it's like you have to let it out somewhere. I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think like when I was starting writing things as a sort of late teenager, I think it was a lot to do with that. Just like kind of an outlet, like a kind of like a release of like energy or something. You're trying to like change yourself for doing it almost.
So yeah, we've been chatting all about our Speaking about poetry night. If you do want to join us, we're going to be meeting at Treacle Tap at 6 p.m. Loads of poets from Maxfield and Manchester and further afield. So you don't have to perform, you can just come along and enjoy it. So yeah, we'll be 6:30 at the Treacle Tap, we'll be 7:30 at the Snow Goose, we'll be 8:15 at the Swarmington X, and then we'll be downstairs on the main stage here at Mashguru on 10 p.m. I don't know why I always call it Mashguru because that's the thing on the Facebook account. Everyone knows it is Mash. I have to get that out of my head. So yeah, it'll be great to see you, and if you can donate a bit, that would be great as well. So yeah, thanks. We've been the Spoken Wales Paris.